What's going on, everybody? Today I'm going to be reviewing GI Joe Commando Attack game. This game came from Milton Bradley from 1985, and it is for 2, 3, or 4 players. Now, the object of GI Joe is you're going to be trying to break into your opponent's headquarters. You're going to be playing on a board that is around 9 square feet, and you've got these big character pawns that you're going to be playing as well. And this is a strategy game of sorts for kids. But let me go ahead and show you how it works. Okay, everybody, let's go ahead and go over some of the components. We're going to go ahead and start with this really big game board. This game board takes up like one of my card tables. It's even a little bigger than that. Here's my hand. The game board comes in about 4, 5, 6 parts or so, and you just kind of put them together. So yeah, love the game board size. Here we have 3 different buildings or whatever that you have each side has. Right here you have the supply depot. This is the headquarters, and then this is the POW camp. And of course, GI Joe on that side has the same thing. And I'll explain how these all work here in a little bit. Now, what you have here is you've got 2 squads on the Cobra side and 2 different squads on the GI Joe side. You got red and orange over there, and then you have green and blue over here for the Cobra side. And I'll go ahead and show you one of the characters here. Here is Storm Shadow. A lot of the popular characters from the 80 GI Joes are in here. You've got Duke, and of course you got Cobra Commander, and then you've got Destro. But anyway, these are really big size, as you can tell. And the cool thing is, if you look at these stands, you'll see that it has this little thing over here. If you have like a GI Joe action figure, you can actually put the action figure on that and use that in the game. That is cool. I used to have some GI Joe action figures, but unfortunately I do not anymore. But anyway, the object of the game is you are going to be trying to get to your enemy's headquarters, and you're going to try to basically break in, and if you can do that, you're going to win the game. Now, the first thing you're going to do is each person has a die, and you're going to basically roll for initiative. Basically, whoever wins the roll is going to be able to move their characters first. So let's just say I rolled, and let's say, well, in this case, GI Joe ended up winning. So what's going to happen is GI Joe is going to go ahead and move first. Now, the way it works is GI Joe will move the red squad first, then the orange squad, and then Cobra will move the blue squad and the green squad. And they're basically going to roll for movement each time. Now, the way movement works is, let's say it's, let me just say it's Cobra's turn because he's easy to reach, and I went ahead and I rolled this die, and I've rolled a 3. Now, what this means is, on this side right here, let's say I was rolling for blue. Blue will be able to move 3 of their soldiers in a straight line. So he can move them vertically this way, he can move them diagonally this way, he can move them horizontally this way. So long as it's a straight line, he's not going to be able to zigzag. And he can go as far as he possibly can if he would like to. He's basically going to have to stop if he reaches an obstacle. A bush here would count as an obstacle. So if I were to move like this, I would have to stop on the bush. The river over here is also an obstacle, so if I was over here, I can move up to the river like this. And the only other obstacle would be another player that was mine. I would not be able to go on there or skip over him. I would have to land next to him. And so let's just say I rolled the 3, so I would be able to move him here, for example, and then if I wanted to, I could move him here, which would be a straight line, and I basically ended up on the obstacles. Now, my next turn, I can move off of the obstacles and continue my movement there. So let's just say this Cobra gets to go, and I rolled a 2. So this time I'll get to move 2 of my soldiers. So what I'll do is I'll move one guy here. He stops on the river. I'll move another guy here, and he will go ahead and stop on the river as well. Now, this would have been if Cobra had won the initiative to roll. Then GI Joe will go ahead and go, and he will do his movements as well. Now, the big thing on this game is combat, and the way combat works is if 2 players end up on the same square. So let's say I had Storm Shadow over here, and let's say Jungle Trooper rolled and he somehow was able to make it over to where Storm Shadow was. Now after the player has moved all of his people, these 2 people are going to go ahead and go to battle. And battle is very simple. Each person is going to take their die, and whoever rolls the higher number is going to win the battle. Ties will go to the attacker. So let's just say this person is the attacker, and he is attacking Storm Shadow. So both of them will roll, And in this case, G.I. Joe's Jungle Trooper has beaten the ninja. So what's going to happen is Storm Shadow is going to be placed into the POW camp like so. And now he will be able to get out, and I'll tell you how that works here in a little bit. But that's basically how battling works. Whoever loses the battle is going to have to go into their opponent's POW camp. Now, it is also possible to have up to 2 soldiers fight somebody on the same spot. If both characters here like this would be able to make it to Storm Shadow, then it would be 2 against 1. Now, you can't have more than 2 soldiers attack somebody. And basically what's going to happen is the G.I. Joe characters in this case will be able to roll their die twice and basically keep whatever the higher number is. And Storm Shadow again would roll once. So in this case, I'll have won again because I just rolled the 4 and Storm Shadow rolled the 3. But if he had rolled, say, a 5 and then I rolled again and I rolled a 6, then I would win as well. And Storm Shadow once again go back to the POW camp, like so. Now, you can't leave these 2 here like this, so on the next turn, whatever G.I. Joe rolls, he's going to have to move one of these guys off of the space that the other soldier is on. Okay, so now let's talk about what the buildings do here. As you see, there is a supply depot over here and a supply depot over here. Basically, what's going to happen is if one of the characters can get to the entrance of their enemy supply depot and break in, then what's going to happen is they are going to be able to choose 2 of their enemy in case, for example, if G.I. Joe were to break in here, he'd be able to pick 2 Cobra people on the battlefield and put them into the POW camp. And the way this would work is, let's just say this guy happened to make it over here. His very next turn, he will be able to go ahead and roll to try to see if he can break in. And the way he'll do that is he'll just simply have to roll an even number on the die. So let's say he's made it over here. On his next turn, he will go ahead and try to break in. Let's say he has rolled a 2, so he has successfully broken into the supply depot. So in this case, he would be able to pick any 2 of the Cobras and go ahead and put them into the POW camp like so. And so that's how the supply depot works. Now, if you want to break anybody out of the POW camp, it works the same way. Let's say we have, let's see, Firefly over here. Get to this entrance. He will get to the entrance, and on his next turn, he will go ahead and roll if he ends up surviving and try to get an even number. In this case, he's gotten an even number, so what's going to happen is all 3 of these guys are going to be placed back into their original starting position. Would be somewhere around here, here, and here. So that's how you would end up breaking them out. Now, the object of the game is to try to get to the headquarters of your opposing player. So what you can do, let's say Cobra had 2 people over here. Now, this entrance has 2 spots, so technically you could have 2 soldiers trying to get in. And what would happen is, again, you'd move there, and on your next turn, you would get a chance to try to break in to the headquarters. So let's say the first guy rolled, he did not get in. Let's say the second guy rolled, and he did not get in. So in this case, he'd have to wait till his next turn to try again. But let's just say one of them happened to roll an even number. This would basically end the game, and in this case, Cobra would win the game. And ladies and gentlemen, that is GI Joe Commando Attack. So my final thoughts on GI Joe Commando Attack. Now, I guess I originally saw this game in an antique store, and I was kind of curious about it. I went back, and they had a sale going on, and I went to check the game out, but it was missing a lot of pieces. I managed to get this one on eBay for about the same price. And it was in really good shape and had everything in there. Now, I like this game. Very cool game. Definitely the theme of this game is there. I mean, if you like big game boards, this game has got a rather large one for sure. The character pawns are really big too, and I absolutely love the fact that you can replace those character pawns with your action figures. I really, really like that a lot. I used to have G.I. Joe action figures back in the day. Unfortunately, I do not anymore. But man, I wish I had them, man. I'd be using those on this game for sure. You know, for a kid's game, you know, this is definitely a game that adults can enjoy. This got a little bit of depth to it. You know, since you can only move in a straight line, that's definitely going to affect your strategy. And you're also thinking to yourself, you know, do you want to try to attack the supply depot? Do you want to try to go ahead and get people out of jail? Do you want to try to double team somebody? You know, so you've got thinking around that you have to do in this game. And it's rather cool. Of course, you know, you're going to try to see if you can defend the base as much as you possibly can, but there may be times somebody's trying to get into the supply depot. You may have to send some soldiers out that way to get them out to fight them. Like this game. Now, here's another thing. There was somebody that went on Board Game Geek, I guess, and he made a list, and this is sort of my version of it. But what he did was he gave every single one of the characters a special ability. Like, for example, I think one of them has a chance to break out of the POW camp if it rolls an even number, which counts as one of the movements. There's another one, I believe it's Cobra Commander, where if there's someone next to him and he ends up losing a battle, Cobra Commander can substitute the guy in his place to go to jail for him. And so everybody's got these special abilities that they can do, which definitely will add to the depth of the game. So now what I did is I took what this guy did, and I got a 20-sided die, something like this. And what I did is I assigned all of the special abilities to a die number. So simply, an example would be if I rolled, say, a 17, I would just look on here, and the ability that I would have for that turn would be move any character up to 5 spaces and ignore obstacles. As opposed to giving everybody an ability, I would just assign an ability to a die, and whatever I rolled, I would be able to go ahead and use that ability. And so far, that's worked pretty well. This game is not expensive. I got this for about $20 total. I would definitely recommend it if you're a fan of the GI Joe series. This is a game kids can enjoy, but definitely adults can enjoy as well. And there's a lot you can do with this game. You can go online, and if you want to get pictures of some of the other characters, you could use those in the stands as well, and you can give them special abilities. So, there's a lot of possibilities. There was a ton of GI Joe characters that were made, so you could grab any of them, all of them, or whatever, and make this game customizable, which I think is a great idea. This is, I would say, is a medium strategy game. There's enough depth in this game to make it challenging, but it's not like chess to where you're going to have to really think 3-4 moves ahead. This is battling it at its simplest. But at the same time, you have to factor in the supply depot and the POW camp and defending each of those things. So it's a cool game, and I would recommend it. So y'all, that is my review of GI Joe Commando Attack. Hope y'all have a great day. Keep on gaming.